I mean, there's tons of imposter syndrome there, right? I was a published writer and had been writing for different articles and blogs, and I still didn't feel like I'm a real writer. I was like, oh, someday they're going to find out that I'm faking it.
No.
I'm just trying to get through. They're paying me. They're going to find out.
Hello, and welcome to The Career Flipper, a weekly podcast featuring career change stories from people around the world in a variety of industries about how they get from point A to point B and all the twists and turns in between. I'm Jenny Dempsey, your career flipping host. After more than a decade working in customer service and experience leadership in the tech industry, as well as teaching 2 online courses that are actually still online, check out Udemy, speaking at business conferences, and mentoring customer service agents, I found myself laid off. Despite my experience, I couldn't land a new job, and I started to question my worth. What am I supposed to do now? Then a friend gave me an old junky table. I saw potential. I binged YouTube videos to learn how to fix it up and found joy in giving something unwanted a brand new chance at life. And this led me to start my furniture makeover and restoration business, San Diego Furniture Flipper. Alongside that, I also speak at events, run workshops, and offer career change coaching sessions. Despite all this, I was feeling alone and insecure about my new path. I mean, who really goes from the corporate tech world to covered in paint and sawdust in their garage? So I started to reach out to others I knew who also flipped their careers, like just a few people, and hearing their stories motivated me. And it made me realize it's okay to change direction at any point in life. And then I realized there are way more people out there who flip their careers, more than I'd ever imagined. That's why I started this podcast, to share these incredible journeys and offer support to anyone considering, having already been through, or currently going through a career flip. So I hope you'll find something in each episode that helps you on your path. Today, you'll meet my dear friend, Tracy Carmen Watkin. Her journey from hospitality to managing office buildings to becoming a writer and living abroad in Europe is nothing short of inspiring. Tracy opens up about overcoming imposter syndrome, navigating job searches after a layoff, and diving into her passions for personal training and travel. We'll also talk about the importance of continuous learning and having a strong support network. Let's get going to the episode now. Tracy, hi. You're here.
Hi.
We are in 2 different countries, different time zones. I'm so happy to see you. Thank you for being on the Career Flipper.
Thanks for having me. I'm super happy to be here too.
Yay. Oh my God. I mean, we've known each other. We have been friends and we met in such a funny way. Very unexpected surprise. You didn't know who I was and I just showed up at your doorstep, basically like, hi, I'm here to stay with you. But it's been, gosh, almost 10 years, right?
Yeah. We're celebrating 10 years of friendship.
Yeah, a whole decade. I love it. And now, through that last decade, so we just for anyone listening, Tracy and I send voice notes to each other all the time. So we are able to keep up with each other. Thank you, WhatsApp. And we talk so much about life and, friendship and relationships, but also the career ups and downs that we've experienced. And especially a lot of the things that we've experienced lately parallel a lot of things that we have gone through. But your career flip, starting in hospitality and moving up and the ups and downs and moving countries. And I'm going to give you the floor. Tell me about your career flips.
I spent several years, 7 years in hospitality, then moved into managing office buildings, and then took a trip to Europe and was like, wait a minute, should I change my location? And ended up in a couple year process of moving to Europe with a nonprofit organization, which sponsored my visa, and did that for several years until I could legally work in Spain. Got a job doing some freelance writing for a bit, and got hired on by a mental health company to write content for people to manage their well-being, and got laid off a couple months ago and have just been trying to figure out what do I want next. And so I have spent some time learning some things for myself. So like taking courses. I'm a certified personal trainer now, and
Yeah.
and just about to start a new role. It's still in content. So had a lot of different flips and also just like space and time to learn new things along the way.
That flip to content, because I know in between there's a book. There is a book that you wrote. But how did that land in your lap? How did you switch from managing buildings and then, making this huge move to another country and then you're writing? Where did that come from?
Yeah, I was working for this nonprofit, but like kind of trying to break away from it, figuring out how can I do that? Because they're the one sponsoring our visa. And so just trying to figure out like I also wanted to like go a different direction. And I like honestly got on Upwork and found some different writing jobs. I always like felt like I think I can write. Like I can't take tests. There's a lot of things I cannot do, but I can write a paper. So I got some like gigs through there doing like some writing for recipe blogs. And then I found this gig through there to write a travel guide on Barcelona. And I felt like I've been living here, like 6, 7 years by that time. And I felt like I had some good knowledge on after having so many friends from the US visit and going to lots of different tourist spots. And yeah, I got hired to write this book. And that just kind of gave me a little bit more confidence, like to be a published author. Like I started getting a little bit more freelancing roles. And then one of my freelancing roles actually turned into a permanent contract. That just really helped make me feel like, well, maybe I really am a writer.
Yes. And I think that's such a big part of the flips is because we're defining who we are, but it's also, and what we've talked about a lot in our messages is like this identity. Work isn't necessarily our identity, but you are a writer. And so how do you kind of like manage that, especially after the layoff and figuring out, wait, what am I doing? How do you kind of untangle a lot of the self-work type of connection? How does that fit into all this for you?
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of imposter syndrome there, right? I was a published writer and had been writing for different articles and blogs, and I still didn't feel like I'm a real writer. I was like, oh, someday they're going to find out that I'm faking it and I'm just trying to get through. They're paying me. They're going to find out. And it's still there always in the back of my mind. I mean, I feel like that with language too. Like I live in Barcelona or just outside of Barcelona, Spain, and I feel like an imposter all the time, like with living in a different country and like with language learning, and like it's just hard. I think there's a lot of like self-talk that goes on a daily basis to try and keep that confidence.
And especially like then the layoff happens. What was that experience like? How has that been for you? Because I mean,
yeah, it's the first time I've ever been laid off, fired, anything from a job. So it was, even though it was a layoff and it was like due to financial reasons and these things, it still like kicked me in the gut a bit. I'm like you are in work. I put everything into it and I care a lot about what I'm working on. And so I think I helped build this thing from the ground up. It was a startup company. And my first experience with the startups, of course, there's going to be layoffs. I mean, what are the chances that startups make it? Not great. So of course that it's totally normal. But yeah, it was just kind of like I helped build this thing and then I'm not necessary or needed anymore is kind of like the way I took it, even though it's business, I get that.
Totally hear you. I mean, that was definitely one of the reasons that the flipping, I was like, oh, here's a piece of junky unwanted furniture that no one wants. I can make that better again. And each one of those made me feel like actually healing parts of myself, but
totally,
this trash that I found on the side of the road. But yeah, that feeling of like not being unwanted and then imposter syndrome and then job search. I mean, then you got to dig into that and figure out, well, who am I going to be moving forward? What am I going to do? And was there ever a moment, because, where you're at now, and you've been there for many years living in Barcelona, outside of Barcelona, and was there ever a moment where you just felt scared? Like the what if? What if I don't find something? What do I do?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I got a good package when I got laid off, which was helpful, but I was watching the numbers go down like as I'm living my life and applying, I mean, every single day to multiple jobs and just getting rejection after rejection. Like they're not even reading my resume or my application. Like I'm just getting rejected. And it was rough. Luckily, I was hearing from a lot of people they were in similar situations, and that was a little helpful to feel like it's not just me. Yeah, I mean, as you know, like I processed a lot with you. Like, what do I want to do next? What am I applying for? Like, what if I take the wrong job? Like, what if I'm not happy? in my job. Just there's so many things that go through your head. And even up until like I'm starting a new role in a month, and I was filling out paperwork for that yesterday. And in my mind, I'm like, what if they take back the offer? Like, which is ridiculous. But I think also just having like temporary status in another country, like I'm not a permanent, I'm a permanent resident. I don't have citizenship. And so like, there's always this thing in the back of my head, that whole not belonging. And is this really going to happen? Is everything going to be okay? And everything's okay.
Everything is okay. And reminding yourself of that through all of the ups and downs. It's not an easy process when you're like in it. And then once you're there, it's kind of like, okay, like what's next? How am I going to adjust and dig into these new things that are coming up? And I also want to call out a little bit something separate, because you have other things going on the side, the personal training. Tell a little bit more about that. It took you a while to go get that certification, but you have been doing it for years. And if anyone, I know this isn't video, but like if you could see Tracy's muscles right now, let's look at this. Post a picture on Instagram. But I think this is a big part, because it's like you are not, going back to the identity thing, like we're not just one thing. We can do multiple things. Like we could have the stable job and then have something else on the side that brings us joy or lights us up or challenges us in ways. So yeah, just like tell the story of how you got to the point with the training and the certification and what you want to do with it moving forward.
So, I mean, I've been talking about it for a very long time. Like, should I become a trainer? It's just like, it's something I care about a lot. Like it's like a knowledge base that I just really wanted to have. I'm always like researching articles and looking up stuff about becoming stronger. And for around like 38, I was like, I think for my 40th birthday, I want to feel the strongest I've ever felt. Yeah. And so I really pushed it with my workouts. I have my own home gym here. I have like my own weights and a bench and kettlebells and a plyo box and just lots of equipment. And I'm pretty dedicated. I mean, especially during COVID, I know people went either one way or the other. And I was just like, I'm bored. I'll just work out. So I was definitely growing a lot of muscle during that time. And yeah, I just felt like I was working in mental health, and I just felt like it would be, not crazy for me to also on the side pursue something in the physical health realm. And I wanted to learn more. I felt like I was in a place in my career like where I wasn't learning as much. And so, yeah, I found this company, ISSA, that I looked up, and they were having like a deal like right after Christmas on becoming a personal trainer. And I just bought it and did the course. And I learned a lot. There were a lot of moments where I'm like, whoa, I don't remember this kind of science from like junior high and high school. And I just had to relearn a lot of things. It was really fun. And now I'm working with a friend. We're putting together like a website to help like other people. Like I said, I was looking up articles, I was trying to read and find stuff, and there's so much different information out there. And so I want to help like give a knowledge base to people who are looking to get stronger, or like, to learn more about their body and stuff like that. We're working on a little project, and yeah, that should be launching soon, which I'm pretty excited about.
That's so exciting. I mean, how many times have I sent you a message and we're like, hey, what about this workout? Or what about that? How do I work on this muscle? This only this one. Like, I think it's so wonderful to have you as a resource. And now that you're expanding that more, in this that will soon launch, it's going to be so valuable. And you doing it simply from your own personal place of, I needed this. And now you can give back to others. I just think that's amazing. And you can do these things in addition to the other things that you are doing and make the time for them. I think that's a big part of what stops people is like, yeah, I love, X, Y, and Z, but I don't have the time, these stories that we tell ourselves. And I know I'm right there with it too, of like, oh, I'm not going to play and sing guitar because, I got so many other things to do. But really, I just felt insecure about my abilities and was like, so it gets deeper. And so did that ever come up for you of, along the way of, okay, I do want to do this and I love this and I'm going to work out for myself. The certification, for example, was like, I'll do it one day. I'll do it one day. Like, did things ever get in the way of that for you? And how did you kind of make the time for it?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. probably talked about it for like 5 years before I did it. And I even would ask like the friend that I'm starting this little business with, they were like, I asked them, should I do the course? Like, really, I don't want to like train people necessarily. I just want more knowledge. And they were like, well, it sounds to me like you have a lot of knowledge. Like you're reading stuff all the time. You probably have as much as like if you were to take the course. So I kind of like put it out of my mind for a while. And then, when I just started looking again, just this last December. And I was like, I think I should do it. I mean, I have the time. I felt like I was working a lot, but I just felt like I wanted more. Like I wanted to learn something new. And so I just think continued learning is really important in life anyways. And so that was just a way that I could continue to do that. And it's not too hard. Like it's just a course, it felt manageable, I guess.
Felt manageable and you did it. And it doesn't have to be a whole huge thing. I think that also can get in people's ways too, of like, okay, I'm going to take this course, then I have to do something with it. And just like you said, like it's learning, you learn something new. And that right there is so valuable, whether or not you choose to go and run an empire, like whatever it is, like it could be something very personal for your own personal growth, learning, whatever that is.
Yeah, it was worth it. I mean, like I said, I found a good deal on it. And I just felt like if nothing else, but if someone had a question someday and I could help them because I, have this certification, then that's enough just to have a little bit extra information to share.
Perfect, because I will be asking you lots of questions. I need to talk about my biceps. I'm lifting really heavy furniture and I need more. So, okay, well, that'll be offline. But anyways, oh my gosh. So Tracy, there's a lot of changes coming up and with, the different fun projects that you have going on and, career shifts and what's next for you?
Well, I have another side project. My cousin and I are starting like a travel curation business. We both love to travel. I live in Europe. She's in California and she had this idea and got in touch with me and I was like, I love it. I'm already helping people plan their trips all the time anyways. Let's make some money doing this. So we'll see. That's also about to launch. I have like all these little things going on in the time where since I've been laid off, I've just kind of been like, okay, what's next for me and kind of experimenting with different things. And I think it's really fun to have, like you said, some side projects going on and we'll see how long I can manage them. But with other people, that's the thing. I feel like for me, it's really hard to do stuff alone, but to have like a partner in it just really makes a difference and makes it like it's not just all on me. And so I feel like that's a bit helpful.
So helpful and so important to delegate. You can't do it all on your own. That's a really good point. I think a lot of folks listening in, taking on a side project, whatever it might be, on your own is very intimidating. And having, whether it's just a support system or a partner to do it with, that can really make a huge difference. Just like you with your cousin. I mean, it sounded like your cousin probably couldn't do that all on her own. She needs you. And, you're a huge part of this and that will just continue to grow as time goes on. So,
yeah. And I think the great thing about these two projects is if nothing else, I'll be able to like continue to practice writing because we'll hopefully be putting a lot of articles and blogs together just to give people information. And so I think that'll be helpful for me to have a creative outlet after I start a new job.
Yes. So true. Congrats on that, by the way. That's exciting. Big things coming. But, Tracy, there's a lot. You have the different projects from the travel to personal training to writing. How can people find you, connect with you, ask you questions, pick your brain, all the things? How can they connect with you?
Yeah, I'm always happy to share and to talk with others. So I have an Instagram account where my personal one, Tracy Watkin, I will be posting about these other businesses there. When they have their own pages, that information will be there as well. And I'm on LinkedIn. So yeah, hit me up.
Definitely take advantage. Reach out to Tracy. She's a wonderful human and would love to support you with whatever you're going through. Tracy, thank you so much for taking the time to be with me. I know we're going to be sending more voice notes later, but for now, thank you so much. It was lovely chatting with you. You sharing so much with us. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Career Flipper. Be sure to connect with Tracy using the links in the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend who could use some inspiration. And please rate and review it and hit that subscribe button for more flippin' stories like Tracy's every Thursday. Your support helps me reach more career flippers and future flippers to be, spreading the love, support, and motivation we all need on this journey. And if you ever need a career flipping speaker for your event, want to sponsor the podcast, or just want to say hi and share your story, pop over to thecareerflipper.com. I'd love to hear from you. Keep on your path, my friend. What's the best that could happen? Talk to you next week.